We are fresh off ICAST, the International Convention of Allied Sport Fishing Trades. Large lure companies collaborate with small kind of garage builders and custom builders.
Love it.
And offer to the masses, not only make it much easier to get your hands on, it's going to be less expensive too. We asked a question in our Instagram story. We got a lot of great responses on what's the worst way you've broken a rod. So I'm going to get some of our answers that we got from our listeners. We're going to leave this one anonymous too.
This is getting good. I think we're fighting today.
Welcome to another episode of the On the Water podcast. It's beautiful.
Let's go! Buzzards Bay Yacht Sales knows that a great boat dealer is as important as a great boat. Why? Because new or used, you're buying a boat with 100 different systems and components that need tuning, training, troubleshooting, and sometimes repair. While most boat dealers are your best friend only until the sale is closed, Buzzards Bay Yacht Sales has developed a bulletproof reputation for building long-term relationships with their customers. Before, during, and most importantly, after the sale. Go ahead, ask around. We challenge you to find anyone who has anything but great things to say about Tom O'Toole and his team. With 6 locations from Freeport, Maine to Jupiter, Florida, including Marblehead, Massachusetts, and 3 offices on Cape Cod, Buzzards Bay Yacht Sales is committed to providing the best possible product, customer service, and support for both recreational boaters and passionate sport fishermen. It's true, who you buy from is as important as what you buy. Visit buzzardsbayyacht.com today.
Welcome to another episode of the On the Water podcast. I'm Jimmy Fee. Got Anthony DeCicci, Kevin Blinkoff, and we are fresh off ICAST, the International Convention of Allied Sport Fishing Trades. It is an annual show. It's not a consumer show. What kind of show is it? Trade show.
Annual trade show by the American Sport Fishing Association gets together all the international tackle manufacturers, people who are in fishing media, influencers, and buyers. So all the tackle shop buyers come in and they find out what's new, what's coming. They place their orders, and it kind of decides what fishing tackle is going to be out there to buy next year.
Now, we've already put some of the new products that caught our eye on our website. We're going to talk more about that here, and then some of the ICAST behind-the-scenes stuff. Not too much. We did a little bit about this maybe 2 years ago now. But it's always good to do another ICAST recap, see what's new, the trends that we're seeing in the tackle industry the last couple of years. And, let's kick it off. Anthony, what was tell me about ICAST 2025 for you. It's 2025 this year.
It is. That would be the date on the calendar, Jim. It was ICAST. It was,
riveting. I'll kick it off with ICAST starts out on Tuesday. For the actual event, the Tuesday before the indoor convention, they have an ICAST on the water, not associated with us, but they do it on this pond, so you can cast the new rods, try out the new lures.
Wait a minute. We wholeheartedly take credit for the naming coincidence of ICAST on the water.
On good years, not this year where there was a thunderstorm and it was very lightly attended. But at that, it was raining. There wasn't much going on this year at the ICAST on the Water event, except walking past, I saw a gentleman in a bright red kind of tracksuit with a giant largemouth bass on it. And I thought, that looks exactly like Steve Harvey. But there's no way. Steve Harvey, of course, the host of Family Feud, I've only ever seen him in a suit. And this was such a departure from a suit, this outfit. I thought, no way that's Steve Harvey.
And it's not a place where you would expect to see celebrities that are outside the fishing industry. I mean, you expect to see a Jimmy Fee practice casting a rod, something like that. You're not expecting to see a Steve Harvey.
No, definitely not. But anyhow, I wasn't with Cheech at the time. Later on, Cheech sends to where we had a big group chat with everybody just to stay on the same page.
I tried to make a bet to see who could take the craziest selfie of ICAST week.
And all of a sudden, up comes Cheech with this selfie of who it actually, I zoomed in on the badge when he sent it, and it was actually Steve Harvey. So he is a big fisherman. He was actually one of the speakers at the industry breakfast, and he has is it a charity that helps get people fishing?
He does. He's got some charities, and he's really big into promoting fishing. He talked about how fishing when he was a kid, fishing did a lot to kind of shape his life. He talked about he met Bill Dance, and he told Bill Dance he was one of his heroes. And
You told Bill Dance he saved his life.
he told Bill Dance he saved his life, that he showed him, how to go fishing and how to do, he said he when he was young, he said he fished for food was a big part of it. And that, it was a big deal for him. It was pretty cool. Steve Harvey was the celebrity at this year's ICAST.
Yeah. Past years,
Stevie, I call him Stevie. We're tight now.
past year celebrities were Warren Sapp was maybe my favorite. Kevin had a.
We've already talked about the Warren Sapp incident on this podcast,
Warren
and I'm
Sapp
still nervous that somehow someone's going to forward this to Warren Sapp, and he'll come find me.
Just to refresh, there was a line of people going up to Warren Sapp telling him how much they enjoyed his football career. Kevin got in that line, shook his hand, and said, "I loved you in that Trina music video." And Warren did not take the joke very well. And the people who were, I wasn't there, I saw a sneaky cell phone shot of the interaction. And I thought Warren was going to fold Kevin into a paper airplane and just sail him right back to Cape Cod.
Yeah, Warren might be, I think I'm like 1/3 of his weight. And
Of his bicep.
yeah,
Soaking wet.
he got really loud, and he was very upset. I thought for sure, like, he'll think I made a funny joke, and we'll laugh, and we'll be friends forever. But
I mean, in the music video, he was like the person getting cheated on, right? Like it didn't.
The joke was everybody's like, Warren, love you, awesome football player, and I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna pretend that I don't even know him for his football career. I know him as the guest in a rap video, and then he's gonna be like, oh man, you know that Trina song? Like that was awesome. Like we're best friends. Next thing you know, like the two of us are down in Miami. We're hanging out with Rick Ross. Like it's all love.
No, not at all.
Not how it
You almost
went.
got beheaded.
I almost got thrown like a paper airplane and sailed into another ICAST party. But moving on.
Moving on to the actual tackle and the real reasons you go to ICAST. If there was one trend for this year, it was the fuzzy dice style baits. And before I knew they were called that, I thought they were germ style baits. So these are largemouth bass baits. It is like a cube of soft plastic with silicone hairs jammed through them. It seemed like every freshwater lure company had one of these coming out this year. For whatever reason, this is what people decide largemouth bass want this year.
Like a kid's art project gone, awry.
Oh yeah,
Everything is just like. But I fished them.
When did you fish
I
them?
fished them up in Niagara. I fished the Z-Man prototype up there, and I also fished.
Is that they are famous? Z-Man has their Turd is the name of their bait. And this is their
TRD.
TRD, and this is the
Fuzzy Turd.
Fuzzy Turd,
Yeah.
yes.
So I fished that one. Actually, Robbie took the first picture of a really stud smallie that was caught by that bait because it was literally like came out of a plastic bag. Jimmy, what are you doing over there?
I'm just taking out the little, what do you call
We're
them?
trying to get Jimmy to Zen, but he's not taking to it very well at all. But anyways,
a little too Gen X, I think, to be.
that's been
playing
the
with
trend.
Zens.
Fished that bait. I fished a bunch of the Spro ones that Sid brought with him, and like I was just making up names for him. I'm like, oh, that's the fuzzy cucumber. He's like, no, it's a shrimp. I'm like, no, it's not.
They look like the COVID molecule.
Yeah, exactly. So they look like those things you get at Newberry Comics that when you touch the I don't know, the snow globe thing with the electricity that goes all around all crazy. Looks like those.
What is Newberry Comics?
I don't know. You're
That's
from
a shop
Philly.
in Boston, but like I think you're thinking more of a Hot Topic. You walk into Hot Topic and you've got
No,
that.
that's
thing.
more your jam.
I'm thinking of the Franklin Institute, where it would like a science museum.
Here
where there
we
would
go. He's so well cultured. This Jim Fee.
where it's like you put your fingers on it, and then like the little.
Yeah, exactly.
That's got
If
some
you've
sort
ever
of
seen a
sciencey
model
name.
of a syphilis virus, that's what it looks like.
Anyhow, you did catch fish on these things.
Yeah, no, they do catch fish. You can fish them a ton of different ways. Guys drop shot with them probably most commonly, but there's a ton of different ways to. I mean, let's face it, those green bass they just eat stuff. I mean, there was one year where excrement like style baits were the thing.
So we were talking about that with our Neil Larson, who used to be the general manager here, and he said that he loves those baits. They call them, like you said, just kind of turd style baits. It's just like if you made a soft plastic in the shape of a peanut, basically.
Yeah.
Is what it looks like. And he said that he thinks those work, and a lot of people said they work because they have like the general profile of a crayfish without the claws.
Yeah.
So it's like a molting, soft-shelled crayfish that's very easy for them to eat. He thinks that's why those work. I didn't see any explanation for why the dice-style baits worked, other than bass just eat them.
I mean, I think we get focused a lot of times on bass eating big stuff that we can see, like crayfish and minnows and things like that. And they spend a lot of time eating macroinvertebrates, basically insect larvae in the water. If you ever see like a dragonfly larvae in the water, and like there's a lot of things in there that are kind of soft bodied, they're relatively small, they don't move a lot, but they've got like appendages, they kind of twitch and wave. And I think bass, especially as they're smaller, they're sucking those down. And as they get bigger, they're like, oh, I remember that when I was a kid. I used to eat these little dragonfly larvae, and now here's a big one. That's my theory.
I mean, that's something along the lines of why people think that Atlantic salmon, when they return to the rivers from their life at sea, will still strike a dry fly or a fly. That, it's kind of an instinctual thing. This was food when they were younger, living in the rivers. Even though they're back and they're 10 times bigger, it's still something.
I think fish are a lot more nostalgic than we give them credit for.
It's a real popular finesse presentation now, and Kevin's right. Those little appendages, like even dead still, they're always just kind of moving in the current or whatever.
If you've ever snorkeled in a freshwater lake or something like that and watched bass, they're not racing around chasing food. Half the time they're moving very slowly, kind of creeping around, poking. So they're something like that. And if you see these baits underwater, they're barely moving, sitting still, but the appendages are just waving, twitching. It looks very much like something that is alive and that doesn't have good defense and isn't going to race away. And it's easy for a bass, I think, to just be like, yeah, I'll give this a shot. I'll
So
suck this down.
seductive.
So seductive.
Yeah.
So one of the other trends this year, and this is one that I am a much bigger fan of than the dice baits, and that is seeing large lure companies collaborate with small kind of garage builders and custom builders.
Love it.
To take, what's a very coveted, hard to get bait and offer it to the masses, not only make it much easier to get your hands on, it's going to be less expensive too. It seems like it's really, that's one of those, that's a win-win where you have the custom guy getting good recognition, getting presumably some money for this collaboration, lure companies selling more lures, and then the consumers are getting their hands on, the fishermen getting their hands on a bait that they might have to get on waiting list for, or hope to get a bait drop, catch a drop, which sometimes they sell out for in a minute or less.
Love that whole thing going on. It really is awesome, and it's being done extremely well. Like some of those baits you picked up, you expect them to be super light and be like, yeah, this isn't going to swim right. But you pick it up and instantly you're like, oh man, this is going to crush.
So the first company to do that did it a couple years ago, and it was Spro, who got together with KGB, who makes custom glide baits, and they made one out of plastic, and it's the Spro KGB
shad.
KGB shad. And they're now expanding upon that line. They had a smaller one they put out this year. Mm-hmm. That was the first. Shimano has rods and reels for every fishery in the Northeast, whether it's deep dropping the swordfish in the canyons, casting the stripers in the surf, or finessing panfish through the ice. That's about as wide a range of fishing applications as you're going to get. For inshore saltwater applications, the workhorse of the Shimano lineup is the Spheros SW combo. The Spheros SW is built with premium Shimano technologies like Infinity Drive, which increases cranking power and smoothness while fighting fish. The rods range from a 7-foot medium heavy to a 9-foot heavy and fit Spheros SW sizes from 5,000 to 8,000 for a range of lure and bait fishing. From the surf this past season, I used the Ultegra XR 14,000 XSD paired with the Shimano Tierlejo XX surf rod. The Ultegra XR is Shimano's most feature-packed surf reel to date, with the rigid cast spool support to stabilize the spool while casting heavy lures, Infinity Drive to increase winding power under pressure, and X-Protect technology to provide high-level water resistance. The Tierlejo XX is built for casting distance and durability. The 10'6", 1 to 3 ounce model was perfect for punching Ava jigs through the wind during a sand eel bite in New Jersey last fall, and it was great for throwing pencil poppers to distant bluefish off the south side of Cape Cod. It's become my go-to combo when casting distance makes the difference in the surf. No matter what you're fishing for in the Northeast, Shimano has a rod and reel for it. To pick out your next setup, visit fish.shimano.com. So one of the ones we saw this year was Strike King partnered with Tater Hog.
That is a great name.
It is.
It is a great name. So they partnered with Tater Hog, another custom glide bait builder, and they made the Hogfather Junior. So Tater Hog makes the Hogfather, which is a bigger bait. This is a smaller version of it. It's made out of the ABS plastic, and whereas, the regular Hogfathers are, I'm on the website right now, $285 for one of them to get your hands on. The Hogfather Juniors come in at $50.
Yeah.
And much more readily available. So I'm sure there are some advantages to getting that original high dollar bait. Maybe it has a little bit different swimming action, but being able to get your hands on something that's inspired by it, by this original builder, played a role in designing that, that's a big win.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that he talked about, the bait maker talked about, was like he wanted to make sure that the swim was the same. It's the materials are different. It's a production bait. You're not swimming everyone in a tank, but the design is pretty reliable because it's mass produced, and the swim looks incredible on it.
Another one, and this is another glide bait, and that seems to be, glide baits are super hot for largemouth bass. We've talked about them for stripers here, and that is G-Rat partnered with a custom builder out in California to make a version of a glide bait that's to their standards. Now G-Rat already makes good glide baits in the Sneaky Pete and the Papa Pete. Those are ones that got turned on to by Mike Gleason from Tack Waterman. Yeah. Mike is a great kind of innovator when it comes to taking largemouth bass lures and fishing them in the salt. He did that with the flutter spoons. He was one of the first guys to kind of really help that take off in the Northeast. And he did that with the Sneaky Petes and the Papa Petes, which are the two big glide baits.
The Hogfather Junior I've seen in plenty of striped bass mouths, so keep an eye on that for that application.
Yeah, for us, I mean, we look at pretty much everything down there as how's it apply to striper fishing. We get somewhat excited about largemouth bass fishing, but at the end of the day, we're there looking for good striper stuff, and it does tend to be a little bit thin most years in terms of lures that are specifically made for striped bass, but any of those glide baits can be, can work for that to that end.
What did you think about the trio of glide baits that were all kind of like jointed together, like married together? It was like I was calling it the G rig, like a play on A rigs. And it's basically, I think it's 3 full-size glide baits that are like pinned all together and individually painted, so it's not like a school of glide baits.
So I saw that. So if you know what an Alabama rig is, it is basically an umbrella rig that you would use in saltwater, where it's this wire frame that has the lures hanging off each arm of it. This one took 3 glide baits and put it onto basically a
stacked and
modified
vertically
version of an umbrella rig. And for me, at least, I lose glide baits at a fast enough clip that I don't need to start trying to lose them 3 at a time. So that one's not for me, for sure. One last collaboration we saw was Throwback Baits. Yeah. Midwestern bait maker is making a wake bait with...
that felt really well done, too. I don't know who the collab is. I think it was under his own name. I don't think there was I could be wrong. I didn't think there was a collab with that one, and I was like, damn.
But another one, very coveted bait, going to be available in plastic as opposed to resin or wood, and therefore a little bit more expensive and more accessible because you can make it so much faster. The resin baits are just time-consuming to make. That's why these guys charge so
less
much
expensive,
for them.
More accessible.
So that was a kind of a neat trend.
I liked it.
In 15 ICASTs, that was something that
I want more of it.
Was kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool. Trend-wise, I don't think there was really too much else.
No, we saw a lot of some stuff geared toward tuna fishing, big tuna, the Shimano Talica 40, which is going to kind of fill the void between the Talica 25 and the Talica 50. That's a lure that a lot of guys up here in the Northeast, a reel, a lot of guys in the Northeast are excited about because it's a little bit smaller profile. It's palmable. And so I saw John Galvin, who we've had on this podcast, Captain El Diablo.
Yeah.
I saw him just the other day. Wind's blowing hard out of the Northeast. Last couple of days, he had a lay day, so he was grocery shopping. And he said he's got a couple of them coming to his boat, and they're excited. They think they might replace all their 50s with them.
Yeah.
It's smaller, lighter. use it as a pitch bait, and there are some guys excited about using them to jig giant tuna.
It's the typical. I mean, that's a staple in the Shimano lineup. It's a 2-speed lever action reel, and it's been right at home in the trolling spread for billfish to chunking tuna, live lining, all that stuff. So it just kind of bridged the gap between the 25 and the 50.
Other saltwater reels we saw this year, and this was the winner of the. So they have the new product showcase at ICAST every year. The night before, media and buyers can go in and evaluate all the new companies can submit their product for it, and then you vote on what you think is the best for each category: best saltwater reel, best freshwater reel, and so on. The winner of best saltwater reel this year was the Quantum Cabo, and we kind of alluded to this when we talked about my tarpon down in Florida. I got a sneak peek at this reel before they put it out, and they are bringing back kind of this legacy reel. Quantum Cabo was a really popular reel back in the early 2000s. It had kind of a lot of innovation to it. It had a great drag system. So the new Cabo, they've even souped up further. It has an IPX rating, so all the new Quantum reels have an IPX 6.
Yep.
The Cabo takes a step further to IPX 8, and the IPX ratings are how waterproof or how resistant an item is to water intrusion. IPX 8 means it can withstand continuous submersion in water beyond a depth of 3 feet, and I think for 30 minutes or more. So if you're, that makes it a very appealing surf reel or kayak reel where it's going to kind of inevitably end up underwater for a little bit, and it's got a great drag. It's very cool to see a reel come back and kind of get improved. Like no corners were cut here in bringing this reel back.
Right, especially since for me, early 2000s is when I really got into saltwater striper fishing. The Quantum Cabo at that time was like my first serious reel that I bought. And like, I'm going to spend some extra money. I'm going to get a really good quality inshore spinning reel for striped bass. What's cool is 20 years later, it comes back. It has 20 years of innovation technology built in. It's got the IPX rating. The price is still the same, not even adjusted for inflation. It's still an affordable reel, but you're getting so much more technology. And I mean, in the fishing world, you can spend more and more and more money on reels because you're getting more technology. But the truth is, at the lower end, what you're getting in a lower end reel now versus 20 years ago is just so much more technology. You really are getting better. It's going to be more, like you said, water resistant, waterproof, rugged. It's going to last longer. It's going to stand up to more abuse. You are getting a better product for the same amount of money.
And that's another trend you can definitely get behind there.
Yeah, the technology trickles down, which is great. Like you see a reel company comes out with a really high-end reel. It's got incredible new technology. It seems to be that year over year, they just start to trickle that technology down to the lower-end, lower-priced reels. So for those of us who are looking to get in kind of a lower end of a reel company, you're starting to see really high-end technology trickle down to that level. It becomes more affordable.
So rod-wise, anything really striking for you guys? I know Jigging World.
Jigging World stepping into the freshwater game a little bit's cool. That rod was great. One of the new kids on the block, Trika, is a rod that I've had a lot of experience fishing. They're super light, super sensitive. I've really loved my experience with that little finesse stick that I've been fishing. I've been kind of using it for everything because it's been so much fun to fish. And then Jigging World also did over the I always draw a blank on this one. I have the rod. It's the blue one. And they just came out with a new
Black Widow.
Widow,
they've got the Black Widow 2.0. So Jigging World put out, they had a number of new rods out there this year. One of the ones that I was messing with and looking forward to fishing was the FNS.
FNS, yeah.
So that was finesse. The description on it is this is geared at people who are going to be walking kind of backwaters or the surf, fishing small jigs for things like fluke.
Yeah.
And it has a
great feel to it.
All Jigging World rods are super durable. You can really put a lot of heat on, not have to worry about them breaking. And then this one is really geared towards sensitivity and finesse fishing. So that was
it was also cool to see if I got this right. Jigging World, a New Jersey-based company, Northeast focused for the most part, this was their very first ICAST. To see them on kind of a national stage, this was their coming out. They're down at Orlando, and they have a brand new booth, big booth, photos all around the outside. You're seeing a lot of like Northeast scenes and things like that. It was cool to see them come so far, and great guys, good people.
Yeah, Rob Taylor's down there in their booth, kind of holding court too.
Yeah,
and,
local Rhode Island captain. And so, yeah, it was good to see the Northeast representing in that way down there.
That was awesome. It just gave me goosebumps. St. Croix came out with the Rogue 5 series, Rogue V. I think it's a Roman numeral, Rogue V. I was calling them the Rogue Fees.
Yeah.
Those rods felt great. We got our hands on some. We'll be fishing them out in the tuna grounds here soon.
And if I understand right, their push behind those rods is this is a rod that is affordable around the $200 range, I think, and boat rods, saltwater jigging rod. They have a jigging line as well.
Yep, boat jig and slow pitch jig rods.
And the focus is kind of, it's a blend. I think there's glass in the blend, and so they're a durable, rugged rod. So this is like, okay, I'm gonna buy a rod for the boat that I not only want to have great technology, but I also want this to be able to stand up and be rugged and be durable.
Super,
which I love because I'm tough on rods.
Super great parabolic feel to those rods too. I really liked them. I fished the early, prototypes of them this last year, and I really like the feel of them. They were good, and they are Rogue V's. I was kidding with the whole 5 thing, but
So if that's it on ICAST, you kind of gave us a nice segue into our other ICAST topic.
See what I was doing there?
I do. Yeah, look at that. It's like you've done this before, and that is broken rods and how horrible ways to break rods. And what we haven't done it's been a while since we put something out to the audience on Instagram. We asked a question in our Instagram story. We got a lot of great responses on what's the worst way you've broken a rod. So I'm going to get some of our answers that we got from our listeners, and then we'll go into some of ours. I've broken a lot of rods. I've broken a lot of rods in a lot of different ways. Kevin, you guys have been present for several of my broken rods. I've been there for at least one of Cheech's. Kevin's broken some of my rods. One time he traveled back from Canada with some rods he borrowed, and the airline broke them, and then they paid Kevin for them, and I haven't seen that money. I haven't seen a replacement rod. It's just
Yeah, it was kind of great. I actually made money off of breaking your rods.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
So anyhow, what do you guys think was the main way? What was the most common answer?
Tailgates and car doors.
Car and truck mishaps.
Yeah.
So absolutely. There more people, so many answers. I mean, some of the best ones. Devin Acton, who writes the Weekly Salvage newsletter, he wrote, "Car doors hate me." This was his only response. Mike Dean, another contributing writer on The Water, said he hit the rear window button wrong one time on his truck, and that snapped the rod down.
That's the most hopeless feeling.
I've done that where I'll put the window down on the tailgate, just if I'm moving between spots, and I have an 11-foot rod, which I can't fit in one piece into my car, so I'll just have it sitting out there. It's so simple to be like, to forget that it's hanging out there, put the window up. So I definitely feel Mike Dean's pain there. Went to shut my Jeep latch, wouldn't shut, so I slammed it and then realized what was making it stick was the rod. Left the rod racks open and drove off. Ooh, that's a really tough one.
That's not good.
And just so many slammed in tailgates in the car. Backed into the garage with 2 rods sticking out of rod holders in the bed of the truck. Both of those snapped. Just I can feel
driving under bridges with the rods in the boat, snapping the tip off all your rods. I've heard those stories before.
Temper was another one. We got a couple. I like that one.
I like
the
that
honesty
one.
there. So at Colin.shorty21 said he lost a fish and threw it through the rod. It landed just the right way to break the tip off. This anonymous person said viciously whipping a seal over the back while it had a bonito in his mouth. So the seal had come up onto the beach, grabbed the bonito, and in the process of trying to reprimand that seal for stealing his bonito, not only committed a felony, but broke his rod. Is that a felony? Is that felonious to hurt a marine mammal?
That is marine mammal harassment at that point, and yeah, that is a serious crime. So definitely we'll leave his name out.
Got that, Liam? Falls. Some people have had broken rods when they fell. At Nicholas Page said his headlamp died on the rocks. He took a digger, feeling his way back in, and it ended up with his rod in 3 parts. Somebody else fell off the side of the boat and in the process snapped the rod in half. That was by Lines 2811. Let's see, I'm looking for some funny ones. 2 big guys and too small of a boat. He swung the boat. The guy fell and snapped 2 nice bass rods. That was Trey Pierce 9.
I watched you break a broken rod and fall in the water after.
That was so. I broke 2 bass rods this spring, and they were lightly overloaded. So part of it was that I had overloaded the rod beyond what it said it could cast, and that's not always a big problem. But I think the way I cast is a little bit too snappy and a little bit too over the top. When I had the podcast with Ron Ara, he said most people, and the reason they break rods, and they blame the rods, but it's their fault for not giving the rod time to properly load. He said you can throw heavier than the rod's rated to, but you can't just do a quick whip snapping action. You have to do kind of a slow, it's a pull and then a push at the end to do that. And that's definitely what cost me 2 bass rods this spring.
Any ceiling fans? I've done that, and that is a horrible feeling.
That is a bad feeling.
I mean, ceiling fans should not exist in places where there's fishing rods. Like no fishing lodge, no fishing camp should ever have a
I don't know that
ceiling
I've
fan.
ever broken a rod with a ceiling fan, but I've definitely had a ceiling fan hit a rod.
Oh, yeah. You can hear it. You can hear the noise
and
in your head.
and it's like an instant panic, and then you just scope it out and look at the tip, and you're like, oh, thank God. And then it breaks probably the next fish you hook, and you don't remember to hit the fan.
So here's a really painful one. So Tom Kaczynski, who's in New Jersey, he's a guide, he's a friend of mine, good fisherman, and he was down. He was down in Florida, booked some tarpon fishing, had the rods ready in the hotel room the night before, getting ready to leave that morning, snapped 4 rods at once in the door of the hotel on his way to his tarpon trip. That happened just this spring. That's pretty painful.
Yeah, that's a kick in the stones. That stinks.
I've broken. I remember I brought a travel rod up to Alaska on a trip to and snapped it on like the first fish I hooked, and it was the only. Then you're borrowing rods, and once you get to that point, it's a real bummer. Alex Blackwell responded to this story. He said he was fighting a tarpon on the fly, and a couple minutes into the fight, he grabbed a little bit too high on the blank and took the bend out of the rod and snapped it. Mitch Farron broke a rod trying to unhook a seagull. And at this point, I'm going to kick it over to you guys to see. Oh, wait, no. I've got one more good category, and that is wives and girlfriends. So there actually had several people who said one was accidental. Humphrey N. Bogart on Instagram. 2 rods were sticking out the
Real name.
Maybe. 2 rod tips were sticking out his truck bed, and his wife, well-meaning, trying to help out, shut the door on them and snapped it. Another guy, Coltron 127, his wife closed the door on a brand new St. Croix Legend X. The Righteous Life had an ex-girlfriend snap it over her leg. We're going to leave this one anonymous, too. This gentleman said on the second cast of a first date, he was on the beach at sunset, he broke the rod, and then he had to, I'm going to quote here, actually talk to the broad. So that, I mean, you can skip a couple steps and not just go to the beach and fish.
Yeah. Don't bring sand to the beach.
Don't bring sand to the beach.
Right.
That is great advice. Did I give you that advice?
No, it's commonly known, I think.
I thought that was a Jimism. Maybe not. Yeah, so that's we've got a bunch more, but let's hear some of yours.
With the saltwater season in full swing, one of the best ways to get in on the action is by reserving your spot at the rail aboard one of the best headboats in the business, the Helen H Fleet. They truly offer world-class fishing that begins in early April with the starfish drifting over the winter flounder grounds in Cape Cod Bay. Come summer, the Helen H Fleet starts running past Nantucket to the best fluke fishing grounds in the Northeast. If catching a doormat fluke is on your bucket list, these trips offer your best chance at hooking a double-digit flatfish. Some of the best fluke fishing I've witnessed was aboard the Helen H, but it was a trip that I had to bail on that still haunts me. One of my best friends, my replacement, caught a 14-pound fluke right under Jimmy's nose, which was a nice consolation, but I'd rather have been the one doing the catching myself. If you want to fish the canyons, a great way to experience it is on a headboat. Whether it's your first time or one of the few times each season you get to the edge, the Helen H begins running trips offshore in late summer. 2 to 3 day trips take you out for tuna, mahi, and swordfish at the edge of the continental shelf. I personally hooked and promptly lost my first ever swordfish aboard the Helen H on a canyon trip a couple seasons back. Can't wait to get back at the reel this fall looking to settle that score. New for 2025, anglers can find more rail space for Nantucket fluke fishing all summer by booking the 10-hour limited open boat trips aboard the Angler. Or, come fall, you can hop aboard their jumbo tog trips limited to 25 anglers running October through November. No matter the time of year, there's plenty of great fishing options with the Helen H Fleet, but the boats fill up fast. So head over to visit helenh.com to book your trip today. That's helen-h.com. I'll start. The worst one, which I still feel, I had taken ownership or inherited my dad's prized Cappy Senior custom rods. Like that, he was a very well-known rod builder out of Everett. His son's actually in the business. He's a manufacturer's rep who we've spent time with at ICAST. And at the time, I didn't know Al refurbished his dad's old rods because he builds rods himself now. And, his dad's long gone like mine is. And I thought it would be really cool when I first started working here at On the Water to have one of them kind of refurbished just so that I could fish braid with it because they were aluminum, guides and stuff. And they were all pitted. So one of the at Canal Bait and Tackle, Bruce was like, "Oh, I can bring that thing back for you and put the right guides on." And I'm like, "Great. Let's do it." So I was super stoked to be able to fish the rods that I wasn't allowed to touch when I was a kid. I took them. I got in a lot of trouble when I'd take them, and probably broke a couple when I was in my youth. But I had the rod redone. First time I took it out, we were filming. We were trying to get some shots for the calendar, and went out to go catch albies in Bonito, and I caught my first albie and bonito on that rod, and I'm like, now I got a good luck rod that has sentimental value. I'm pumped, right? So the rod had awesome feel. It was an old Lamoglass honeycomb blank. It was a perfect boat spin rod / shore rod. And I remember I went down the beach. I was fishing for stripers or something like that, and I came back, or I got off the boat or whatever, and I had built these overhead rod holders like on the roof of my garage, and the garage doors would open and the rods would be above the open door, which is, there's always that gap there. So what I didn't realize is that I had the reel kind of cranked down a little bit and had a little bend in the rod. And as the garage door came up and opened, it caught the tip and bent the tip in like that high stick, bend. And I just heard a rod break, and I went, "Please don't be honeycomb, please don't be honeycomb." And I look, and it was just that old school honeycomb Lamoglass blank, like 2 guides right off the tip, just dangling on, the braid that was holding it there. And I was just crushed. That was a tough one. Still don't know what to do with that rod.
Yeah, you can fix a broken rod if it's at the butt. Yeah. If it's in the butt section, there's a way to do it. You'll take like a little dowel or something, put it in there, and you can kind of make it work. It's never quite the same, but if it's
rod, it's wall art now maybe.
Yeah.
But that was a bummer.
The first rod I remember breaking, this was the stupidest way to break one. I was really young. I was probably 10 or 11, and it was winter, and I was pretending to fish. I was like playing fishing in my garage, and I took it was a rod and reel that my mom had gotten from my dad. My dad wasn't a big fisherman, but as an anniversary gift, she got it for him, their first or second anniversary. So it was, a rod from like the early 1980s, not a classic or anything. It was like a Mitchell and then some sort of silver, kind of junk rod. But to me, like that was my largemouth bass rod.
Sure.
And I remember tying the blue Eagle Claw monofilament that was on it to the doorknob, and then backing up and then like pulling it until I heard the drag. And Kevin's looking at me. You probably did stuff like this.
I'm just looking at this. Is a cute story, little Jim.
And then
tying the string to the doorknob and
so I got like super aggressive with like setting the hook and then snapped it. And I remember like my dad only being upset because it was an anniversary gift. Like there was nothing special about that rod. He's like, "What?" He goes, "What were you doing? How'd you do it?" I was like, "I was playing fishing." He's like, "Why don't you go play sports?" Like,
yeah,
that was the first one I remember breaking. There's been probably hundreds since then.
Yeah,
I think that for me, high sticking, and it's always that moment. The fish is close to the boat. You're doing something, and there's a split second where you realize like, oh, I shouldn't have the rod this high. That's bent. It's not, and then snap, and then it happens. Since I've been more into kayak fishing, I've definitely broken more rods just because it is you're trying to get that fish close to you at the edge of the kayak, it's tough not to high stick.
Yeah.
It's inevitable in a kayak, high sticking.
We've had some good ones. We were filming some content for St. Croix, and one of our production guys sent a drone right up into the brand new Legend tournament spinning rods and sheared off 2 tips.
That day was unbelievable. There'd been a week straight of incredible canal fishing, and we had to go out and film some bonito stuff, which was fine. Bonito fishing's fun, but it was also like the week of weeks at the canal. So I'd fished all night. We go to the boat, and we catch some bonito, and then we want to get some drone stuff. And this was early on in drone, now it's ubiquitous. Everywhere you can't scroll past 2 people on Instagram without seeing some sort of drone footage of fishing, but it was relatively new then. So we were getting the hang of it. We went to launch it, and we made sure all the rods, the lower rods, were out of the way. We forgot about the ones high up there, and I remember the sound being, I remember I hit the deck. Like, it sounded like somebody was shooting at us.
It did.
And then the drone somehow, like, it evaporated. We never even saw the top half of those rods. The next sound after the rod's getting chopped to bits, the next sound I remember is hearing the drag on one of the reels screaming because it's just eating the braid off of it. And then all of a sudden, who was flying the drone? He still works here, and we're not gonna throw him under the bus. Starts screaming, "Get it back to the boat! Get it back to the boat!" Talking about the drone. It went out. I remember this thing was completely upside down at one point. We have lost drones in spectacular ways here. But somehow we didn't lose this one.
No.
It managed to right itself. It came back to the boat, and we're down to 1 rod at that point. And
We got the project done.
yeah, well, thankfully we caught all our fish before that.
I sheared off two Nexus 2.0 tips, throwing a popper from standing on the back of the regulator, and I just kind of like leaned a little. I was kind of leaning to my left and casting over my head so I didn't hit those rods, but there was a little wave play there, and I got a little I flew too close to the sun, Jim.
You were a little overzealous. There were 2 rods. Oh, I remember that sound too. It didn't slow you down. I think you like shook the top of the rods into the ocean and went back.
Well, dude, there was a good popper bite. I did not care about the two spin rods.
One of the most painful rod breakings I had, and this was why I stopped using custom rods. This one, losing a rod this way. I love custom surf rods. I mean, there's something about, like, I can choose the color, I can choose the grip, the exact length. I'd like to tape the reel on so it's exactly how I want it. There's something so personal about a surf rod. When you go out on a boat, you have your fleet of rods. You've got 6 of them, so you pick up any one. But with the surf rods, like, it's kind of an extension of you to have a custom surf rod. So that's why I really liked doing that. I would build my own. A couple times I would pay people to do it. So they never lasted more than 4 or 5 years. Kevin and I were on a rock together, and I had a custom first generation Lamiglass Super Surf, and it was a small rock, and we were almost shoulder to shoulder, like alternating casts. I remember this one blew up, and it was right next to, like, your face.
It was like in my ear, yeah.
And all of a sudden there was like this graphite dust, and I remember, like, just the smell of it and breathing it. We were coughing, and
it was bizarrely sweet. Something about the graphite. So there was this, the bang of the rod breaking, and I don't know, like, are there shards of it in my brain or what happened? But all of a sudden I'm smelling and tasting like cotton candy. I didn't know how bad it was.
Is this what death feels like?
Yeah.
it was, that's not the one I'm talking about. This one was a Century C2D, which was at the time one of the highest end surf rods you could get, and it was custom built. Bill Dean here in our office helped me build it. It was exactly how I liked it, and it was beautiful. I mean, C2D was a carp blank, but it was designed. You could retrofit it to make it a good surf rod. It bombed plugs out there. Like, it could really cast. It was really sensitive. I loved it. I caught some really nice fish on it, and I was out fishing one night, and on two rocks, me on one, my friend Dave Ross on the other, and we've made casts on these two side-by-side rocks. We made 10,000 casts there side by side, and nothing's ever happened. For whatever reason, whatever he did, I had the rod up, I was beginning my retrieve. He went to cast, must have dipped his shoulder or something. He did like a sidearm cast, and his needlefish went through the top of my rod. And it took me a minute to figure out what was happening. And man, and we were a long way from the truck. We were a good like 1.5 mile, 2 mile walk from the cars, and we had just gotten there. And I think he just caught a fish, and then I realized like he'd punched his plug through the top of my rod, and I just my reaction was I like went into the surf. I was knee deep in it, like sifting around for the top of the rod. I was like, he's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." It's okay. It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be
all right. And then, yeah, that was the last custom rod I had. After I broke that one, I never built another custom. Now it's all off the shelf stuff. Because it when you put the time into making it, it hurts worse to break. You break an off the shelf rod, it stings too. But
Get another one.
Yeah. So anyhow, that was my worst rod breaking, was that one. We've had some very public ones.
Yeah.
We broke 3 in one tuna trip we were filming once, and then like against anybody's better judgment, we decided to put that on air.
Well, I mean,
people were like, one of the comments I remember being like, "This is a textbook show of how not to tuna fish." Now, in our defense,
it was a weird day, man.
one was a prototype and broke. It had no business breaking.
Yeah.
Another one was very clearly high sticked and very obviously high stick.
That's the worst part about breaking a rod on camera is you have the evidence. So you can't be like, "Oh, I didn't do anything wrong. There's something wrong with the rod." And then like you get it on video, you look at it, you're like, "Wow."
We literally sent the video to the manufacturer, and they were like, "Shouldn't have broke." And then that one probably should have broke. And then the third one was somebody else's. And then we found out when we got back that Kevin Gould, who we've done podcasts with and videos with and stuff, he had broken 2 rods that day from like one of the best giant light tackle jigging outfits. And he decided to put the jigging stuff away and troll because it was just like, these rods don't break. Something weird's happening. And there were a lot of people breaking rods in the fleet that day. It was weird.
There were a lot of very big fish that day.
Yeah.
But the one you broke, so each of us broke a rod. All three of us on the boat. I broke one, you broke one, and Chris broke one. Yours was like a 20-year-old rod.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine, it was, what could have happened with it is rods can break you can break a rod long before it actually snaps. Like if fly fishing is one way where if you go to cast back, you've got a bead head woolly bugger or something, and it clips the blank on the back cast. That's a broken rod waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So this one I broke, maybe the jig hit it on the way out. Maybe we put it on there and it's banging against there, which is, again, that's preventable.
Yeah.
The last one was definitely high sticks, but it was a long fight. And just at the end of the fight, you see the fish. Let's end this. And a little overzealous.
Yeah.
And high sticked it, broke the rod, then the line broke, and that was that.
Jimmy was sad.
I didn't break the rod. I fought that fish. The
You
worst
fought
part
the
about
fish
that
the
one,
most of the time.
I forget which one of you hooked the fish, but we'd fought so many fish that day. I think Chris hooked it. He goes, and as soon as he realized like this is a giant, it's not a 50-incher, he goes, "You deal with it." Hands me the rod.
Yeah.
And I fought it, and like we're under the August sun. It's getting hotter, so I go to lose layers. Like, just take the rod. It's been an hour. I'm like, I might do this all by myself. You know, I go to lose some layers. Hand him the rod. I was like, just hold it for 30 seconds, and then all of a sudden I just hear like, pow! I go, oh, like all my hard work.
Yeah. That fish was real close too. It was like probably 2 pinwheels from
it was right
meeting
there.
its end.
So I think a lot of people probably also had that experience of you break a rod while you're fighting a fish and you end up in that weird scenario of fighting a fish with like one guide or just off the reel, or you're trying to hand line it, and rarely does that end up going well.
No.
We had a really popular post on Instagram a couple years ago of a guy who was jigging in the canal, hooked a fish, the rod broke, and in the canal, the fish was probably 200 feet away, if not 100 yards away. His buddy grabbed the top half of the rod, and he was doing the lifting and
Fighting
dropping
the
the
fish.
rod while the other guy was picking up the line. It had a whole crowd of people cheering it on.
That was pretty funny.
That was very funny.
Yeah.
How about breaking a reel while fighting a fish? You ever break like the handle off a reel and have to fight a fish that way?
A couple times it's happened. Happened this last tuna trip. We all went fishing. We all went tuna fishing
Just a couple days ago.
this week, yeah. And I had jumped on with my buddy Ty, Kona Sport Fishing, and we headed out. We were going to go look for some yellowfin, but we called an audible because the sea conditions weren't as advertised. And we ended up stopping and kind of seeing some stuff we liked and set up on it. And we doubled up on fish, thinking that they were the typical like 40 inches that everyone was catching. And pretty early on, like we realized, wait, these aren't small fish. And me being, not thinking a couple steps ahead, I brought like a little fun jigging setup. He said, I don't have a jigging stick for everybody on the boat, so bring your own. And I didn't want to come back here and get the heavy artillery, and I grabbed like a 16 Torium and on a St. Croix Rift, and I hooked my fish on a UVT jig, a couple cranks off the bottom, and then I'm saying tight, tight, tight. I look down the gunnel, and I see Ty's buddy Dylan instantly hook up like 5 seconds after me. And then we did the whole tuna dance because they were like kind of, swimming with each other and had to, do rod over, rod under a little bit. And then all of a sudden they both took off like crazy. Like we were getting spooled in opposite directions. One off the bow, mine was off the transom. And we're in the windmill farms. And I just remember Ty looking at me going, I don't know what to do. And I go, I do. And I palm the reel because I looked and I see Dylan fighting his fish in the bow, and I'm like, oh, he's got a 450 Ghost Hunter with an O'Shea jigger on there. I got this little, toy basically for a reel that isn't putting out giant stopping, drag for the most part. I just jammed my palm, my hand into the spool and pulled back and broke it off. Well, which really sucked is I broke the backing. I was into the backing. I broke like the 40-pound mono that was the backing on this light setup. And I was like, well, now I don't have a jigging rod the rest of the day. And then I walked up to the bow to like, coach him up and tell Ty like what speed to run the boat up to get more line on the reel because he was into his backing, So 3 minutes into the fight, he's like, man, what's up with this handle? And I'm like, what's the matter? And I look, and he can pull the handle off the pin, and it's like loose. It's got a lot of play there. I'm like, dude, just keep pressure into the reel, like towards the reel, so that thing doesn't come off. And then next thing you know, when you'd be reeling fast, it would come off in your hand, and it was like, oh no, this is gonna suck. So long story short, we're going through rotations of getting fresh arms on this fish and getting line back onto it. And at one point, Sean had the rod, and the fish did like a crazy Ivan 180 and like flew back towards the boat. And you can't reel fast and push pressure into the reel. So it was just like completely slack. And I'm like, oh my God, we're definitely going to lose this fish. So then I get on the rod and, the fish turns, I'm leaning on it, and I go to switch hands. And when I go to switch hands, my forearm brushed the handle of the reel and it hit the gunnel and went right in the drink. So now we don't even have the feel of a handle. We have just basically a pin. And you had no leverage. You couldn't even get like a quarter turn. It prolonged the fight. It beat the crap out of us. Like it was just so much more exertion on it. And we ended up ultimately getting the fish. But like, when a big fish is in a pinwheel and they're like really large, you can always kind of get half turns on, the return of that pinwheel. You couldn't move the handle more than a quarter turn. So it was a slow fight that kind of sucked, but we killed the fish. So
yeah. Long story short, always good for that. Yeah, I had an experience also where tuna fishing with Craig Cantelmo, who was engineer at Van Stahl Reels. This was probably about 17 or 18 years ago, fishing with Ron Poirier, Ron Z. He invented the Ron Z lure.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace. And Bobby, we were on Bobby Rice's boat, and they were kind of, pioneering the idea of jigging for tuna with spinning gear. And and Ron had just come out with Ron Z's with like a tuna type hook that was attached with a swivel that, really wasn't being done yet. And it was a pretty cool fishery, and they were testing out new Van Stahl jigging rods and reels. And so these were fresh kind of prototype reels. And Craig was fighting a tuna on it, and the handle completely broke off. So you really had nothing but the arm of the reel. And but was determined to land this fish, and it was really like it was like turning a can opener. Like you
Terrible.
had no leverage, and you're trying to, and yeah, everybody kind of took turns working on that fish and bringing it in. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities, gear failure, and it's just in the moment. How successful are you at overcoming that?
Yeah, adversity. You got to rise above it sometimes. But
Well, you guys had two
I have a
successful
connection.
stories.
I just want to play off Kevin's story. I think the only reason we landed that fish was because it was hooked on a runs. Because if it was a jig or if it was a stick bait or something like that, the fish was shaking its head so much throughout the fight. Like it's got so much leverage with a jig swinging around. It's gonna, basically unhook itself. And with the Rons, you got that articulating like swivel in there to the hook, and you also have like that soft plastic body and a tin head right. It keeps it's lighter for one, and that that movement of head shakes. The gumminess of the soft plastic kind of keeps the head pinned and everything kind of still. And I don't think we land that fish if it was, a 320 gram, jig or a stick bait. That thing was thrashing around with no pressure on it. Keeping your boat in tip-top shape is hard, especially when it comes to upgrade projects. But I know a place that makes it much easier. Boat Outfitters makes custom solutions designed to enhance your fishing experience on the water. They offer tackle storage systems, bait prep stations, cutting boards, rod holders, and leaning posts that keep your gear organized and accessible. Their durable King Starboard marine plastic is built to withstand the harshest conditions and will last the lifetime of your boat. For over 40 years, boat builders and boat owners have trusted Boat Outfitters for innovative, durable boat accessories and hard-to-find parts. Whether you're upgrading your boat with OEM replacement parts or customizing storage solutions for a more efficient setup, their team of knowledgeable engineers is ready to help you plan your next project. Boat Outfitters, proven parts to max out your time on the water. Check them out at boatoutfitters.com today.
A little sandbagging happened, but, what are you going to do?
What does that mean? What is sandbagging?
What is sandbagging? It's where you hide the true performance, your true athletic performance, or how you're doing, and you undersell something.
It was so
to
athletic.
keep people away.
I never undersell. It's my main purpose in life, Jim.
No.
So that's the tension. What the tension in here is about? You feel that there was
Yeah,
sandbagging?
you've
that
been
happened
really,
on
really weird.
Absolute sandbagged us. It was to like, oh, look, if you don't Cheech on the boat, you don't have the good day. So I felt like
Wow.
you were driving us at this whole way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've absolutely been just waiting for my chance to poke at this wound. But, okay, so backing up here. We go out tuna fishing on Chris's boat on the regulator. Me, Jimmy, and Chris are out there fishing. We've got the camera guys with us. We're going to get some content and do some things. Cheech is out on Kona sport fishing. The agreement was we were going to kind of keep in touch throughout the day, and if anybody gets good fishing, we call each other in on the bite and everything. But you seem to feel like something wrong.
You were on my boat, okay? And you were in my boat.
I was in your boat. I'm very, very aware of what happened, but I want to hear your version.
I just gave you my version. I felt like if we knew how good it was, I felt like it was undersold. And so we were left kind of picking up crumbs while the main course was being hidden away.
Let me know when you're done with your rendition so I can chime in, Jim.
I just gave it.
All right. So here's what really happened. We double up on the fish. As soon as I break my fish off, before walking up to the bow, I grabbed the mic and I went, "Oh yeah," because I knew Jimmy would know that things were good. And I said, "Hey, we're doubled up. Chris, Jimmy, where's Jimmy?" I'm screaming it on the mic like an idiot. I put it down.
This is fiction at this point.
never got a response. All right. So now we're, knee deep in a reelless fight or a handleless fight with this, respectable fish. It was a 76-incher. And we get the fish beside the boat secured. Once the tail wrap went on the boat, which I was part of that whole 4-man shit show, if you will, where I couldn't just be on the microphone the whole time. The very first time the tail wrap went around the fish, I'm like calling them over and over again. No answer. Then all of a sudden, like 10 minutes later, I hear Chris go, Tyrone, you got me? And I'm like, oh, there they are. And I'm like, hey, we just doubled up on 70-inch class fish, really nice ones. Go down to the channel. And he goes, all right. He goes down. I start calling and no answer. I'm like, what the hell? Ty's like, hey, maybe you got to really yell into the mic. They're probably a little ways away from us. And I knew where you guys were. I wasn't sure if the range was going to pick up. So I'm like screaming into the mic and no answer. So I go back up and I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, did Chris forget to look at the text chain from earlier when we were, because you guys didn't onboard the Garmin in reach and make contact. So I couldn't do it there. So I go back up to 68, hail you guys again, and then say, hey, check the text string, go back to that other channel. And we went back down because we were the only boat there. Then we start talking. I said, yeah, we got 270-inch class fish. I said, we broke one off and killed the other one. It's next to the boat right now. We haven't even started fishing again yet, but we're still marking fish. And we're the only boat here. And Chris goes on this tangent of like, yeah, we got a couple. And like, I can't really hear because it's like, you know when you talk on the microphone sometimes and somebody's maybe a little on the edge of the range and it's like, you hear 2 out of every 3 words. So to me, it sounded like we've gotten bites, we're marking fish, and I literally said, well, if you guys are doing just fine where you are, then awesome, good for you.
Were we doing just fine, Kevin, where we were?
But that's what he said. So I said, hey, take the numbers down, and I gave the numbers over, and he answered back, said he got them. He asked me to repeat them, gave them to him again. Meanwhile, I'm like, oh my God, there's going to be a fleet here in like 5 minutes. But I was like, I didn't care. So I'm like, whatever. And then I said, we're still marking fish. We're just about to start fishing again. And within 2 minutes, I'm like, hey, we're tight again. No answer. I'm like, okay. So then I hear you guys continue to talk to other boats that we're friends with. And the whole time I'm like, this doesn't sound like, you know, a boat that's all set and happy with their situation. So I call you guys again. We go back down again. I confirm that you got the numbers. And I'm like, yeah, we hooked another fish, another 70-incher. And then he said something about 40-inch fish. I go, well, if you want better fish, you know where I am. But if you're happy with what you guys are doing, then by all means, that's what happened.
Jimmy, what do you feel like happened?
Don't you moderate this. What did you see? What were your feelings? You were on the boat with me. I didn't hear any of this.
I'm moderating. I'm trying to figure out, because the tension's here between the two of you. I had a wonderful day. I love, you know what, for me, it's not the fishing. It's just being out on the water.
You were all hopped up on goofballs, okay?
One more point to make. You guys responded to probably one of every 5 attempts to like make contact with you as well. So, you know, you guys were all the way in the gully, like a good, 13, 14 miles from where we were. We were shy of Cox's. And I think that was an issue, but that's a ridiculous jacket to throw on me, Jim.
Hey.
It comes out of a sore spot of your tuna fishing day, and I don't like it. I'm not standing for this.
You got to throw yourself in my deck boots on this one.
I've been in those deck boots, and I'm on your side, Jim. So to take your anger out on me is...
I'm not taking anything out on you. I'm just... First off, Kevin orchestrated this whole thing, beginning with the broken reel story.
You haven't said 2 words that weren't...
Yeah, I was as chatty with you.
So angry.
I was as chatty with you in the office as you were over the radio. Okay? That's...
I was oversharing on the radio.
I didn't hear. Did you hear any of this? Did you hear the shouting and the
best
Shane
part?
Gillis impression?
Yes.
No, you didn't.
So every time I hooked up, I went, "Oh yeah," and I knew you'd know that was me, and we would talk about it. Never answered one of them. I did hear one come back, but I didn't think it was from you guys because it didn't sound like any of you guys. High performance saltwater rods and reels don't have to come with a big price tag. In designing the Merit saltwater rod and reel combo, the crew over at Quantum set out to make a rod and reel that was durable, reliable, and affordable. It begins with the reel, which is sealed to IPX standards, protecting it from salt, sand, and spray, perfect for surf, jetty, or inshore use. It features a CFX 200 carbon fiber extreme drag system for smooth, consistent pressure. The rod is built on a graphic composite blank with HD 304 one-piece stainless steel guides, combining power, sensitivity, and durability. Available in sizes from 7-foot inshore to 10-foot surf casting combos, And starting at just $130, this is a combo that you'll love to fish yourself and is tough enough to lend to that brother-in-law or child or knucklehead buddy who wants to see what fishing's all about. Ask for them at your local tackle shop or visit quantumfishing.com to learn more. Quantum, tested beyond limits. But
I don't know how to
anyways,
say that delicately.
I have receipts, Jim. There is so much video from our trip of me feverishly trying to call you on the radio.
Funny you should say that. Right behind the cameras here recording this podcast, I also have Liam, who has receipts. He recorded all of it. And Liam, I'll speak for you. How much of this supposed radio chatter did you hear?
Come on over to the side of the table, Liam. Come hang out, bud. This is getting good. I think we're fighting today.
So we've got Liam here now. Liam records our podcast. He was out on the boat that day, also filming and providing moral support on what was a very tough day. And Liam, what of that story of Cheech's whole testimony there? How much of that did you actually hear?
So we started out at what was north of Tuna Ridge, right? And then we kind of meandered our way towards the gully. I heard initially when we first made contact, we heard the Shane Gillis tires. Oh yeah, which was another ICAST kind
hangover,
of deal. So we had during that point, I believe Chris had hooked a fish. You had hooked yours.
Right.
So we were on fish.
Chris had hooked what was clearly a shark and bit him off, but he was convinced it was a giant tuna, so he was excited. So we were in good vibes.
I can't believe he can't even defend himself.
I know, but I just love starting fights.
We were what we had assumed were marking fish. Our electronics that day were, up and down with that. So we were trying to figure out, what we assumed were fish, and we thought that I would say that we thought we were on good fish.
Yes, we didn't know. When we didn't know what anybody else was doing, we thought we were doing okay. We were we were muddling along.
So that was the whole thing. Like, if we were in a bubble and had no idea what anyone else in the world was doing, we would have felt like, we did all right today. We gave it a good shot.
I will say this, that might be adding to this while I was sitting over there listening to this whole thing. When we were doing our talking points, so part of filming, we do these talking points of, what are we doing, trying to develop the story. And during that time, we were on Channel 68, so obviously everyone's talking.
Mm-hmm.
One of the times that you may have been screaming into it, that might be of when I turned the volume down on the radio.
I felt ignored all day long. I'm not going to lie.
We turned the radio off.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, and this might be the cause to this, that you can put that blame on me.
No one's going to blame you, Liam.
I didn't want them to know.
I turned my hat backwards just in case the headbutt needed to come out. And I feel completely absolved now. I'm back in peaceful mode.
That's good.
All right,
we
so
got
I
this.
didn't want to admit that. I knew that. We had turned the radio volume all the way down so that we could talk to the microphones. I didn't want to bring that up because I wanted Jimmy to continue to think that he didn't actually reach out and keep this fight going. But I think that's what really
I'm trying to
happened.
resolve what you were supposed to. I'm doing what you were supposed to do and moderate and keep things and get things back down. And
Kevin is just,
instead
he
it's-
throws gasoline on fires. He does this all the
really
time.
good at it.
He's very good at it.
Yeah, I think that was the. You were,
Cheech runs hot. He's highly flammable.
I'm still hot. It's the after effect. I'm not even mad anymore, and
So
I'm
here's
still
here's
elevated.
Also, what happened was at the moment that we finally we weren't catching as much as we thought we were. We were marking fish. We'd gotten two to the boat. You got one that was adorable. It was barely legal.
no,
honestly,
it was good.
Slink
It was
veil.
a size that you were surprised it didn't take drag.
You brought that one in. You were like, "Oh, this is going to be an albie," and like, "Oh no, it's a baby bluefin." And it was like, "Oh, this is great." And we did a little thing about like, this is the future. Let's take the hooks out, let it go. It swam out of your hands like a brown trout. It was really cute. And then we're like, all right, well, hopefully we'll get another one that we can actually eat. Chris ends up catching one that was maybe about 40, 42 inches. Gets it up, and we said, you know what? Let's take this fish because if you let that fish go, you're probably never going to catch another one for the rest of the season because So let's keep this fish. We've kept it. We've got our limit. You can only keep one tuna. So we got our limit on board. Feeling like things were okay, but then, kind of getting antsy, not doing anything. Chris gets on the radio, hails Cheech. Cheech says, kind of breaking up, and he's like, yeah, we hooked the two giants. We broke one off, landed the other one. And as we're saying to ourselves, like, all right, do we want to go all the way to Cheech's number when all they've done is land one giant? We don't even want to deal with battling giant tuna. We'd rather catch ones. At that moment, Captain Joe DiOrio overhears us and is like, hey, is that Megan? Hey, Joe, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and he's like, we're 14 or 15 tuna to the boat at this point. And it was like, oh, crap. Like, you know, wherever he is where we want to be.
And
Forget
I can't
Cheech.
remember. Was that on the numbers that we started at?
No, it was east of there.
Okay.
It was... Yeah, I mean, you go into the trip and you think, we're going to start here and adjust the plan from that, from where our intelligence is telling us. You were cagey the night before.
No.
Yeah. Okay. You don't get to say no. I got to listen to your whole story. The night before, I'm like, what are your plans?
What did I tell you my plans were? I told you I was going 8 nautical miles southeast of Ryan's Horns looking for yellowfin. That's what I told you I was going to do. And then I was going to work back through the ridge, through Suffolk, through Determined, not in that order, obviously, and maybe have to go as far as Cox's, but the bluefin, that 40-inch
I was
bluefin
never clear
was
on
my
what you were chasing down there because I
contingency
didn't know if that was worth also chasing. Because I was like, what did you hear? You're like, I think there's yellowfin. I think there's good water. But I'm like, what do you know? And you're like,
I told you. You did ask that, and you literally jumped out of our text group to and I'm like, he doesn't believe me. I'm like, dude, I'm literally just going on a hunch. Like,
I did jump out of the group.
Yes, you started texting me one-on-one, kind of like maybe he doesn't want to share it with the group.
You were being kind of cagey.
No, you didn't believe my explanation of my plan. I took it as like, wait, he doesn't believe.
I felt incredibly vindicated when you stopped 20 miles short of where you said you were going and never left there all day.
Yes, and the first time I called Chris and told him the numbers. I said, we abandoned going looking for yellows because of those ridiculous, spaced out, rollers that would come at you every, 18 seconds, 3 at a time, and interrupt your ride. We were kind of getting a little beat up going out there. And I'm like, I don't want to run for another 30 miles dealing with this stuff. You can't even see the waves.
Raw from the get-go on this trip. We ran over a rope in the dark in a pile of sargassum in Vineyard Sound at 3:45 in the morning, and it wasn't a lobster pot. It wasn't anything. It wasn't.
Surprised you didn't blame me for that, Jim. I'm surprised you didn't say that. You threw that out right in our wake.
I wouldn't be surprised.
At one point, we were scrambling. Like, where's the knife? Like, we need a serrated knife to cut this rope, and somebody's like, I think Cheech took it.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen.
I might have whispered that, trying to start a fight.
But we ran over this rope, and it was bad enough. I'm like, this is a day ender right here. We're not only hoping we can limp back to port, we're hoping we don't end up on the rocks at this point because it was in there.
Do you not have an anchor?
This giant heavy on the regulator. I know there is.
I would hope so. It's mandatory safety precautions.
And of course we have one, and we're all up to date.
Just making sure.
Yes.
I think all the life vests were somewhere underneath that anchor.
Kevin definitely was looking for the life vest as soon as that rope came into play.
He hopped on the boat with dog walkers in the morning, what they wear, the neon high vis.
I could just see him hugging with his knees and his arms the open array radar and just going around the top of the hard top like, wee, I'm out.
There was a moment we only brought one gaff. We had the two AFCO gaffs, a short one and a long one, and man, we were maxed out on rod holders with everything we brought. We did not have much storage on the boat because we were trying to film the new St. Croix rods, film some Akuma gear, and we did. We did put bends into everything we were supposed to, but we left the long gaff behind, and when we hit that rope, and I'm looking at him like, that's going to be our undoing.
At the moment we left the long gaff behind was like, oh, this feels like the beginning of the TV show, the foreshadowing of like, oh, that's going to come back to haunt them later. And sure enough, we're out there, and we're like, I can't reach the rope at the end of the engine there.
Poor Chris was straddled on the the trimmed up engine.
I would have done it. The only thing I didn't want to do, I didn't want to go in the water. It was
future Liam.
So many
play the video where it's the tying off the engine and everything that.
I watched that video and I was just like, man, he can't be leaving me behind anymore. How do you let the captain crawl out there and cut it off?
Before he told anybody what he was doing.
He straddled on, right? Yeah.
I would have gladly done it. I was in the process of doing that, and then all of a sudden he's just front hugging the engine and sliding down onto it.
It was very graceful.
I couldn't believe it.
It was
I just
so
didn't want to go in the
humid
water.
and nasty that morning too.
There's so many brown sharks around. I really didn't want to go in the water at night. My only other time going in, I've done it twice. Had to go in, untangle stuff from props. Both times were shark trips. The absolute worst. One was with my my friend Jerry Sullivan's dad. We were out there. We got the sea anchor in there when we were chumming for sharks one day. I had to go in and get it there. The other time was with another captain up here, and we got the cable from we'd hooked a small Mako and got the cable in there.
With chum in the water.
With chum in the water. And it was like, well, you're the... Then I was slimmer than I am now, and even now I'm slimmer than the captain. That particular captain,
who had a .45 caliber handgun pointed just over your head, behind you in the wake, in case a shark came to attack you.
And I'm like trying to untangle this cable. The little Mako's long gone, and like the flecks of chum are like hitting my chest. I'm like, can you take the chum bag out at least, like while I'm doing this? And
you don't want to break the slick.
So the one picture that we have from that is like me in somebody holding a handgun, like in the foreground, and there's me hanging onto the outboard in the back, and it was Andy. Andy said like he was so close to just like firing it into the water nearby, but he was worried I would like have a heart attack and sink to the bottom if he did that. But he's like, I'll cover you when you go in, because we've been catching blue sharks, Mako. Like it was a very active shark day. Anyhow,
you look just like the guy. I can't think of the actor's name in Deliverance, like all wet and tighty whities in the water.
Ned Beatty.
That's it. That's
Ned
who
Beatty,
you look
the
like.
squeal like a pig guy.
Yeah. And in the picture, there's a handgun. I'm like, it looks like they're like.
Are you trying to get punched?
All right, so are we all good with like? Are we on better terms?
I haven't heard an apology yet.
You're not getting an apology from me. I don't need one from you, but you're not getting one from me.
Bottom line is, at that point, we got called in on where the fish were. The fleet was.
That's when I knew you guys.
We made the decision. Do we run to Cheech's numbers?
That's when I knew you guys needed help, because
he's unreliable.
Hearing that play out, I just put my head down and I was like, oh no, poor guys. It was like, what color jigs are you using? Are you marking fish? I'm doubled up right now, and it's like I'm not really seeing any marks, and then it was like, hey, Chris, come over here. And it was like, oh, are you guys doing anything? Yeah, we got 2 on right now. And I was just like, oh, my goodness.
It was a string of painful moments, from the rope to hearing where they were doubling and tripling up, and then
we had
taking that moment to clean the blood off the boat.
We also, on the way out, the autopilot had just been readjusted. Something was wrong with that.
It's serpentined. It's like we were trying to avoid getting shot.
Hey, wait, there's a setting that will make it do that if you hit it.
No, this was a much more abrupt.
If you hit that button at speed, that's what it's gonna do.
So we'd be like on a bearing, and Chris like set the autopilent. Normally, then you just take off the autopilot. Instead, he'd set the autopilot, and all of a sudden the boat would go just like left to right, like exactly like we were slaloming through buoys, and everybody's getting thrown side to side.
So I was rocking to sleep on the beanbag chair.
I mean, it's like we were looking for that rope.
Oh man!
So then, also, like you said, you pulled up short. You decided not to go all the way out for the yellowfin because we were on our way out, and it was pounding a bit. There were weird swells.
It was weird.
So we pounded a few times hard. I think we jarred something loose in the electronics. So then, once we're out there, the electronics start to.
We
have
lost our
issues.
fish finder halfway through the day, and that's why we were asking on the radio, the boats nearby, like, are you marking fish?
So we finally end up very nice. Joe Diorio was out there. Great. Joe Baggs.
Rob Taylor. We eventually drifted.
They basically put us Connor, Tall Tales charter. Like we end up in the middle of all the best charter boats, all out there tuna fishing, and we're like, okay, we're surrounded by them. They're like, what are you? We're all using the same jigs. I'm watching them, so I've got the same cadence. And Dior's like, oh, doubled up again, and like. Joe Baggs over there, I've got another one, and this is a big one. We're gonna have to chase this one, and like everybody's just having the best time catching tuna, and we're like, what's going on? Why can't we get bit? Finally, I get bit. And Liam had said like, oh Kevin, you got to bring the energy when you hook up a tuna. Like you got to bring the energy for the camera. So I hook up and I'm like Kool-Aid man, like oh yeah, and like so excited, way more than I normally am. And it just comes directly to the surface. Like, what's going on? I can't even keep tight. It comes up, and it's a 3-pound bonito, which I didn't even think was an option on the bottom in 130 feet of water on a big tuna jig.
That wasn't even the funniest one. It was the next one right after that. I think that was really the one that took the cake, at least
Sea
for
bass.
me.
We
Yeah.
rolled up,
Oh,
we saw
yeah.
a bunch of bait and marks, and we dropped down, and Kevin goes, as soon as it hits bottom, he takes one crank, goes, oh, I'm on, and then that's when he goes.
There was nothing. I was like, it feels like I hooked seaweed. Like this is, and you're like, oh, you missed it. I was like, no, it's whatever it is there. And I'm like, this is going to be something awful. This is going to be like a sea squirt. It's going to like shoot in my face. It's just the whole day. All I'm hearing is the like, Price is Right. Womp, 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 womp.
Oh, back to Steve Harvey. Oh, no,
Yeah.
it's Family Feud.
Close enough. And so that came up, and yeah, it was like a 10-inch sea bass hooked through the side. But then what was nice is on the way in, they're like, oh, well, Kevin had a rough day. We're going to let him cast at the pots and get some mahi. And and then I managed to get, it wasn't even a chicken mahi. It was like a baby chick mahi. It was so
mahi
tiny. It was
embryo?
half a sandwich.
It was tough to fillet that fish. Yeah, it was a tough day. That's 2 tough tuna trips in a row, and I'm not excited to go again. I need to heal. I'm hurt. I'm raw.
And again,
And Cheech,
if it was
Cheech
just
could be the scapegoat of it.
Hurt people, Jim.
if you didn't have to hear any other reports, you'd say like, you know what? We hooked
wasn't
like,
our day.
We hooked like 5 fish. We got 3 to the boat. We kept 1. Like it wasn't bad. We had pretty consistent action. It was good. But then you hear the reports from everybody else. It's like, wow, 23 tuna. The rods were bent more than they were straight. Like,
Well, I mean, we didn't have it like that. I thought that's what you guys were having. So, like, I kind of backed off, but I felt a little like, odd man out. Like, they don't want to come hang out with me. I'm sad.
oh,
No,
don't
why?
even
Just
make
drop
yourself
that
the
stuff.
victim.
Oh
So-
my god.
Kevin's turning from each side. Like I can see it like happen. He's gonna stay on Jimmy's side for a little bit, have Jimmy calm down, and then once that's like too settled, he's gonna go over to Cheech's
I,
side.
I have one more
It's an
question.
art.
I have one more question. The last tuna bite that you got, was that at the numbers I gave you guys?
No.
It was told to me that it was.
Who told you that?
Chris did.
Oh, he doesn't.
He's mistaken.
Yeah.
All right. He said. He said
We
because
didn't
you
have
guys stayed out
we didn't
there
have
till like 9
electronics. We didn't have
p.m.
numbers.
I was calling since I got back in at like 12:30, and then I was like, "Well, Jim's phone always dies early, or he's just despondent, so he's not answering the call." And I talked to Chris, and he said, "Around," he said, "We're just getting into the numbers that you gave us," and it was like 4:00, and then he was like, "Hey, I gotta go. We got fish." And I was like, "Oh, cool," and that was the last I heard from it.
We had hooked. Kevin had gotten sharked, and then
I really had a hell of a day.
Kevin
Chris-
caught everything but a tuna.
Exactly.
That was the, yeah.
and Chris hooked up to something large, shark, giant, whatever it was.
A giant shark.
Yep.
That was a tuna. That thing
That-
screaming
yeah,
line,
yeah.
whether it was a giant or not, it was spooling him.
And then
As we're clearing the lines, because we'd set out, we're all dropping metal jigs and doing the vertical jigging. Then we'd set out and dead stick a Ronzi. Sometimes we jig the Ronzi. But anyhow, we always had a Ronzi out there just kind of waving along in the current. That's a great tactic, another way to get another bait in the water when you're jigging. And I go to clear that so we can go and chase Chris's fish. And as I do, that gets eaten by a dusky shark. And
So we couldn't get, because now you're hooked to that shark, so we can't
but
clear
we
the lines.
weren't sure immediately if it was a shark, although we knew pretty quickly.
So we couldn't chase Chris's fish, and so he clamps down on the spool and pops it off and breaks that fish off. And so, yeah, we're left with a dusky shark.
But I think the highlight of the day was the last tuna that you caught, and the why don't you go ahead and describe it, how you felt during that, and then I'll describe it how I filmed it and then rewatched the footage earlier this morning.
So sometimes the smaller tuna, the ones in like the 30 to 40 inch, 50 inch range, are real crazy, especially if there's sharks on them. We knew there were sharks in the area, and this fish I hooked was acting super frantic. Like it was on the surface, it was zipping around on the surface, so it wouldn't calm down and get into its circles at all. And at one point it would streak out, and then it went under the boat, and it had me really pinned under the boat. So I tried to get around the bow, and it was a dire situation. I could feel the line on the boat. The rod was starting to rub under the boat. We're looking at a broken line at best, broken rod at worst. And so I thought, here's my chance. I'm gonna I'm gonna embody one of my my idols, my baseball idols, and that's Pete Rose, and I'm gonna do like a headfirst dive to the bow.
One of Cheech's idols too, but for a different reason.
Yes, sir.
Is this where we begin to heal? So I dove. In my mind, it was like a Pete Rose dive. Like I saw my hair like flowing. There's that famous picture of him. He's knocked his helmet off. He's going into third base, and that's what I felt like I was doing to get the rod around the bow of the boat. And I kind of like landed on the bow, like slid into the beanbag chairs. And in my mind, I'm like, this is the coolest thing anyone's ever done while tuna fishing to land one. And it would have stayed that way if Liam hadn't been filming it.
It was like you tripped halfway to first base and were crawling before the shortstop could throw it to first. But if I'm being honest, how you got back up and then got to the fish, I think was more impressive. Like in that way, because I think at that point it got into slack line.
Yes, yeah. So it had turned around. I'd lost contact with the fish, and managed to get it. As awkward as it ended up looking, got it around the bow and still landed the fish. So
yes,
it was a win in the end. But I felt like I felt pretty heroic until Liam showed me the footage, and I'm sure we'll put that out there alongside this episode. But I look back and Kevin, you were like so red in the face, laughing and like trying not to laugh.
I was as it was happening. I'm like, I'm about to watch something really funny / bad happen. I'm about to watch you go. It looked like you were going to go either in the water or break. It looked like it was so bad. It didn't look as athletic as you thought. It looked like a 40-year-old man stepping on Legos barefoot, trying to like get around the bow of the boat. It was bad. But we landed. You landed the fish. I really can't fault
like,
you there.
Compared to what everybody else did, it was just crumbs. It was just a little bit of scraps,
And you took it all out on me, Jim.
No, I still don't think you're totally.
It sounds that sounded like an apology, Jimmy. I think Cheech accepts your apology.
I did not apologize.
I think we need to send them off on the regulator, just the two of them, to figure this out. And then when they come back, whether they catch fish or not, well, hopefully it'll be resolved.
Cheech, do you accept his apology?
I didn't hear an apology.
I haven't heard one either.
See, there we go.
Well, next week's offshore report will be very invigorating. Look forward to that. And I think we covered a lot on this episode.
Jimmy's soft.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to close this one out, because I don't know if any of these guys. I don't want Kevin to talk anymore, just because then this is going to go on for till 6 o'clock. But thank you for watching, and I don't know how you really guys close this out.
That's good enough.
Yeah. All right. Bye.